Hello and welcome to The Rest is Football with Alan Shearer, Micah Richards and me, Gary Lineker. We're recording this on Sunday just after the playoff final where Southampton have beaten Leeds 1-0. So congratulations Southampton. Alan's cheering because obviously he was at Southampton way back when. Micah's a bit miserable because obviously Leeds is one of the 473 teams that he supports. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on, but firstly, Al, I think we have to talk about Erik Ten Hag. Now, I said to you at the end of the game yesterday, didn't I, that the sign when you've done a good co-commentary is when you're not trending.
Oh well.
and you weren't trending at all. But boy, oh boy, were you trending later on. As was I. Not quite to your levels. People took a bit of umbrage with our questioning and your answer, particularly to Erik Ten Hag. I think he came over and he didn't seem very happy right from the start. And I think he also made points on ITV's coverage as well. I think he had a pop at Roy Keane. So he obviously had something in his mind when he came over. But I mean, I asked him the question, didn't I, at first, do you think you've been unfairly treated by pundits and even us, I said. So, I mean, obviously it's our job to be critical on occasions. We have to say what we think. But yeah, and then he replied saying definitely, and then you challenged him, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's entitled to have a pop back because he's been criticised at times, and I think rightly so at times this season because his team have been miles off it. A lot of times this season, most of the times this season, they've been really poor. They've had a disastrous season in terms of the league. I don't think any Man United fan would argue with that. To finish 8th, to finish with the number of goals they've conceded, shots against is embarrassing. So for all of those things, at times we've had to criticise them this season. I mean, if we didn't, we wouldn't be doing our job. But he's entitled to have the hump with people who he feels have been unfair. I get that. He's been in that position. But I just felt I was well within my rights to say, well, okay, I understand you, but we have to do our job as well as you have to do your job. And if we didn't criticise you for all those points I've just made, then we would look foolish. And that's why I felt it was right that I could come back at him and say, well, hang on a minute, you have been really poor this season. I know you've had injuries, but everyone else has had injuries. Chelsea have had injuries. Newcastle have had injuries. Liverpool have had injuries. Yeah. I mean, some of his signings have been really poor. So I think it's right that we've criticised him at times this season. I did make the point also, by the way, that I thought his team were unbelievable in the FA Cup final. They were by far the best team. They won every tackle. They had the right attitude. He played a blinder in terms of his tactics. And I made the point of saying all of those things. But, for the Man United fans, it's fine. It is what it is, isn't it? You've got to put up with shit sometimes.
Do you know what it is? I mean, I know loads of Manchester United fans, and they've been really down about their performances for much of this season. But I think I've kind of said this before. It's a little bit like with your children. They can annoy you, they can misbehave, they do what you want, and you can chastise them and punish them. But the minute someone else complains about your children, you go into defensive mode. And I think that's all it was from the Manchester United fans. I mean, the thing is here, I've got Erik Ten Hag's quotes which he did an interview for earlier in the week. And I think that's where it kind of went on in terms of his attitude towards the interview. He said, the pundits in England want to score. They want to show they are worth the money. And for that, Manchester United is an easy prey. It's the biggest club in England and possibly in the world. The club is either loved or hated. There is no in-between. So when things go bad, they all start talking with very big words. Not a Geordie. All this negativism That's a big word. From these so-called experts who don't have the capability to analyse something with facts, but who prefer to attack people to make themselves look better. And these same people were the ones who gave me a pat on the back last year. Last year I was able to walk on water. This year I'm the worst manager in the Premier League.
Come on. This is ridiculous. We've been nothing but fair to Ten Hag. He comes in and he does well in a season where he wins a League Cup and they're playing well. This season, they've not played well. It's been one of the worst finishes in a top flight in Man United in their history. What were we supposed to say? They were brilliant. Come on. I said in the game, after the game, I was happy that he'd won it because of all the stick he'd taken at the time he'd been at Man United. We're not them pundits who have an agenda at all. We just talk about what we see. And Man United, rightly or wrongly, the biggest club in England, they're the most scrutinised club. So, of course, whatever he says, what we said, is going to be highlighted more so. So, I don't buy into that. Obviously, some pundit has said something, he's took offence, and he's put us all in that bracket. And I don't think that's fair to do, because I think us, particularly, have been very fair with Ten Hag.
I agree. What a load of shit, honestly. It was like, even before the game, I did an interview. I did it on at the top of the show when we went on it, 10-2. I said, from a human point of view, he's been treated really bad by the owners because he's been hung out to dry. Because if they wanted to keep him, they've had the perfect opportunity to say, yeah, he's our man, we want to keep him. Whatever has happened this season, we're going to stick with him. But the silence was deafening. There's been nothing. They brought all these guys in from different clubs that are apparently the best in the business, and there hasn't been a word from anyone. Even in their statement yesterday that Sir Jim Radcliffe put out after the game, how well Man United have done thanks to the players and this. There was no mention of Erik Ten Hag. No mention. So, yeah, I mean, I don't take too much. I don't listen to too much of the shit on social media that the fans come back, because I think we're well within the right. One or two of them have said that, well, you didn't have a go at Pep. Well, I actually did. I come back at Pep after the semi-final when he was moaning about the fixtures, and when I said, well, you've got the biggest and the best squad. You don't have to play the same team all the time. Play some of your squad players. So, yeah, I mean, don't listen too much to social media crap.
The one thing I would say, I've been in this business almost 30 years now, and most of the time we're incredibly flattering towards the coaches and managers and the tactical things. But occasionally, and I think with absolute reason, we can be critical of the way the team set up, maybe the team selections, in our opinions, which we're obviously entitled to, and I think we do it in a fair manner. I don't think there are never any personal attacks at all. And that remains the case with Erik Ten Hag. But I think from my experience, you'll find that the managers, obviously they're under a massive pressure, and he was under extraordinary pressure with everything that was going on behind the scenes as well. But I think with managers generally, they'll hear the one negative criticism, the one, and that's the thing that they'll remember. That's the one thing that sticks in their mind. So they then ignore all the positive stuff that you've done about him over many years. And we all know. I mean, he says about talking facts. I think, we know in the game we have contacts, we have people with inside, and there's no question that Manchester United have approached other managers, other people, about the role of Manchester United coach. Now, a lot of people were critical of me on Twitter for saying that, it's possible tomorrow that you might not have a job, or next week. What is the situation? Do you know anything?
Correct.
And I think if I hadn't asked that, I wouldn't have been doing my job properly. Because if 10 minutes later someone asked him in the press conference and then he says, well, actually, Jim Ratcliffe just told me I'm now out, we'd look foolish. But I understand his emotions. I understand fans and how defensive they are about their own team. But that's part of the business. Sometimes you have to say what you think, and you have to ask the right questions.
Gaz, he's the manager of Manchester United. That comes with the job. You know, we're not talking about a team that's just been promoted. Of course, when you take that job, if you remember the interviews he was given before he actually got the job, when he come from Ajax, he was talking about he's going to change this, going to play attacking style of play and all these things. Admittedly, he's had to deal with a lot of things off the field, with players starting with Ronaldo being very tough. And for any manager, you know, it would have been hard. But come on, it's Man United. It comes with the territory, unfortunately. And if you don't want that, then don't do the job. Like we're pundits. We get stick every single week for our opinions. We do. Like we do, but we try to do it to the best of our abilities, and we try to be honest and not be biased. But there's always someone who's not going to like what we say. That's just the fact of the job that we do, and it's as simple as that.
I think you're exactly right. I mean, I just tell it how it is, you know. Even if it's Newcastle, I've you know as well as I do. I've said it. Newcastle have been shit. I've said they've been shit. If they've got to be criticised, they've got to be criticised. I told it how it was yesterday during the game and the co-coms. Man United were brilliant. Man City were really poor. Man United deserved to win the game. They were the best team by miles, but they've had a shit season in the league. Fact. I wouldn't take anything back to what we said, because I think if we didn't ask those questions, then we would have been criticised for not asking them. And he's well within his right to fight his corner, and he did.
And he said it was down to injuries, and I've not been able to play the players that I want, and that is a fair point. Yeah. It's a decent point, but as you said, Alan, lots of teams are like that, but they have a big squad of a lot of players, and you know, some of the young players have really stood up and done brilliantly for them this season. But I looked at the game yesterday, and I thought his game plan was excellent. It's one of the first times this season I've looked at Man United. You could see a tactical plan. I mean, I'm sure they do have them, but it was clear, wasn't it? It was, you know, Mainu and Amrabat were kind of watching Foden and De Bruyne very tightly, almost man-to-man on a lot of occasions. They played narrow, and they carried out that plan brilliant and hit Manchester City on the counter-attack. They get behind City's very high line, which is, you know, that's the one thing you can do against Manchester City, and they caused them loads of problems. So, you know, I understand why he was probably angry, but I think his anger is directed at the wrong people. I think it might be better, you know, he's not going to do it publicly, but perhaps directed at the owners, at the people that, you know, have put him in this very difficult position.
There's been nothing from anyone. If they wanted to come out and back their man, they've had ample opportunity to do that, and it's pretty telling that they haven't. So to me, that tells the big story. Take a brave man now, though, to after that performance yesterday. I mean, I suspect their minds are already made up, but then they're gonna take some criticism if or when they make that decision because of what happened yesterday. But yeah, silence is deafening for me.
Yeah, I'll read another Ten Hag quote. The new owners told me they want to rebuild everything, and they want to do that with me. So we'll find out, won't we, over the next couple of weeks, I imagine, whether he'll keep his job. And who knows? They might change their minds, or they might, you know, and I don't think this is true, have ever considered anyone else.
Yeah, but they might have had that conversation with him months ago. So, I mean, we don't know when that conversation was, so we have to take that at face value. They perhaps might have said that to him, but it wouldn't be the first time that owners have gone against what they've said, would it?
Do you think he'll be there next season, Micah?
I would have said no. If they'd have lost that game, I would have said no. But you know, when we've been talking about styles of play and the setup, and we hadn't seen it all season, and we've seen it in glimpses of games, but that he's up against Pep, one of the world's greatest managers of all time. And yes, Pep was annoyed in the way they set up. You could tell in his interview after the game and basically say, exactly.
He was grumpy as well with Kelly Summers, wasn't he? I mean, he was difficult as well. And I understand it. The emotions are running high just after the game. And it's probably the last thing in the world they want to do, particularly when they've lost a cup final. But he was a bit ungracious, I thought.
Yeah, it was. And I think it's the way that team's set up as well. So it's the onus of Man City to basically break down the other team. And that can be frustrating. You know, you're talking about a big club like Man United, whether it be Chelsea, whether it be Liverpool. You look at Arsenal in the league this year. Arsenal didn't go for the game. They set up and they got the draw at the Etihad. So that was his frustration, is what I took from that interview. But if you look at the way Man United set up and how they worked as a team, if you could take that into next season, players back fit, add a few more, I think they might actually keep him after that, because that was signs to say, well, actually, they can do it. Or they can do something like it for 90 minutes, you know?
We'll find out. Let's talk about the actual game itself. I want to start with Kobbie Mainoo, because, he's had such an incredible impact this season in a side that's struggling, which is difficult. And sometimes he's found it difficult in midfield because he's not really had a lot of help in there. But, you know, all the big occasions he's played, his first full debut for England at Wembley against Belgium, he was outstanding. And he's been so in many games this season. But, you know, to do that in a cup final against, you know, arguably the best team in the world is quite an achievement, especially for someone so young. And then after the game, in his interview, he said all the right things. He's very eloquent. It's remarkable. I mean, he just turned 19?
I give him man of the match, and rightly so. I think he's
yeah.
I mean, not only his goal where he started it from his own box to finishing it off in great style. I mean, it was a wonderful goal, great team goal. But the way he started it and the way he finished it was so impressive. But when you consider he's up against someone who we consider the best in the world, Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, one of the best in the world. Phil Foden, one of the best in the world. Kovacic, who his experience is like incredible. So he's up against all of these players in the middle of midfield, yet he's the one that shines as a 19-year-old. And you know, as important as his goal was, as important as his passing was, as important as his tackling was, one of the most important things for me was when he went body to body with Erling Haaland from a corner, I think it was, and he stood his ground, and he was strong as, and he didn't allow Haaland. And I just thought, I loved that, and that for me, I thought, as well as on top of all the other things, I'm giving you man of the match for that as well as the rest. He was brilliant. Yeah.
So the official, so people know at home, the official man of the match is decided by you. Yeah. Bit of responsibility, that, isn't it? As you know, especially when you're doing your co-coms. When did you start thinking about, oh God, man of the match? Who am I going to give it to?
I got the call in the ear with about 15 minutes to go. Just to remind you, Alan, you've got to start thinking about man of the match. And and I said, well, at the minute it's definitely Kobbie Mainoo, but you can't announce this until 2 or 3 minutes. Then Doku got his goal, and I thought he came on and did really well. And I'm thinking, if he scores another one and takes us into extra time, then I actually could give it to him, you know. But with about 2 minutes,
do you know what? Sorry to interrupt you, Alan. Just briefly, do you know what happens if, say, you announced it? It was announced a couple of minutes before the end, right? So if Manchester City equalise, go on to win, maybe Doku scores a hat-trick, are you allowed, I don't know, do you know, are you allowed to change your mind at that point and say, well, hang on a minute?
No, I did it once, you know, I think I've said this before, I did it again. I did the co-coms Man United Wolves at Old Trafford, and Wolves were brilliant defensively. And I gave it to one of their centre-halves, and then he fucking conceded the goal with about 2 minutes to go. And it was the defender's fault. And I thought, oh, what a prat I look now.
Life as a pundit. Yeah, exactly. It's not easy, Eric. It's not easy being a pundit. It's not.
Can I just ask you,
what do you
before
think?
you move on, guys, just while we're on Mainoo.
I want to stay
out of all the players you've seen, so you've been in the business 30 years, how good is his potential? Because me and Al, we talk about players all the time, but you've been in the business and seen so many top young players. How good can he be?
Sky's the limit, I think. I'm impressed with his remarkable maturity, his confidence. I think he knows how good he is. He reminds me in that sense of Bellingham. I know that's a big shout, but he's 2 years younger. And I think he's remarkably talented. I think he'll feature in the Euros. I don't know where and when, whether it'll be, but Gareth was in the stand, and everyone in the ground would have seen how good he was and confident he was. You can see he's got almost an aura about him with the right sort of confidence. But we know there are a lot of pitfalls in football. We've seen it with other players, and there are dangers. You can get injuries. You can go off the rails. He looks like he's really switched on to me, and hopefully it will remain that way. As always, you kind of are slightly reluctant to go too big, because he's got a long way to go, and we all know that things can get in your head and change things. But I think given a fair run and a good attitude, which I really looks like he's got, he's already, started for England.
Not only has he played himself into the squad, he may have just played himself into the 11 in front of Gareth at Wembley. Yeah. Against that top quality Man City midfield, he was the outstanding player. He may have just played himself into the 11.
Yeah, I wondered if... Gareth does like to play two holding players. I don't think Maynard is a holding player. I think he's more of an 8, personally. But I think he can do that role. I think he's played that role once or twice in Manchester United, but on his own. And I think they sometimes, because of that, they'll attack and then they'd leave big spaces in the middle. It's been difficult. But if he was alongside Rice, you could see... If Gareth wanted to play that way, and he wants to play Bellingham in the 10 role... that he kind of inferred in his press conference, Gareth, that Bellingham's played as a 10 all season, which is not quite true. He's played as an 8 quite a lot. So I think he's got a chance. I think he'll feature. That's for sure. Very few players will play all the games anyway, and it'll we know what it's like. There'll be rotation and stuff like that, but. I think it's so exciting, though, isn't it, Micah? To have that kind of talent.
No, it's just amazing. I'm just watching his temperament. That's the thing that we know he's got the quality, and for young players, it's just you want to give those young players advice, don't you? Don't do the things that I did. You can you can enjoy it.
Yeah,
No, but you can enjoy it. You can enjoy it. And look at my life now. We're so blessed to have a football career and then a broadcasting career. But I look back with regret so many times where I worked hard in training. And, I always take the mick out myself. But I was always give 100% in training. But if I would have just adapted certain things in my lifestyle that allowed me to be the best I could possibly be, I just want him to fulfill that. With Jude going to Dortmund so early, being away, he does what he needs to do, Player of the Year in Germany, and then he goes to Real Madrid, where he's away from all the distractions and it's just football. And now we're seeing the true benefit of that. I just want him. He's a local lad, isn't he? And he's got his friends, and I'm not saying his friends are good or bad or whatnot, but I just hope he can be protected. That's my big worry for him.
I think for young footballers, it's amazing. They earn huge salaries and all this, and their life's great, and they're playing football, and they're getting so much love. But there are dangers. It's very easy to be influenced by friends, age, all these kind of things that, they can lead you astray. The temptations. You've got all the money. You get lots of people hanging on, that sort of thing. It's not as straightforward as people. It's not just about training and playing, although. Your advice is very wise, Micah. I would say the same thing. There's a lot of life after football where you can enjoy yourself, a lot. And you can enjoy yourself while you're playing football as well. But always give yourself the best chance to succeed, the best chance. It's an incredible gift that you've got. And that's always been my advice. And I remember playing for Jock Wallace when I was... And he instilled that. I was terrified of him so much that I didn't go out. I just completely focused on my football. And he was a really good influence. And it's not necessarily easy for a teenager to decide who is a good influence and who's not. But he's showing all the right signs at the moment. And long may it continue. Turn our attention to Manchester City. It didn't happen for Haaland again. He's now not scored. I've got some statistics here. He hit the bar, of course. It was a really good effort, actually, at 2-0. But he's got a kind of unwanted record of having played 9 semi-finals or finals for Manchester City and has no goals or assists in them. So, for him, he's still very young as well. The next step for him is like to do it in the big games.
Yeah, I mean, he was, I think other than Doku when he came on, I thought every single Man City player was below par. They didn't turn up. I mean, De Bruyne, Foden, who's been unbelievable this season. Vardiol made the error for the goal. Every one of them, I thought. Bernardo Silva, really poor. Haaland, as you say, never had that one opportunity, didn't he, where he hit the bar. He was really, really well marked with Martinez and Varane. I mean, we haven't said it too many times with Man City, but they had an off day, every single player other than Doku.
Yeah. They look flat, didn't they, really, for them? Normally you see them that high intensity in the press and it just looked a little bit off it. But, maybe it's just, after a long season, a bit of dead legs or, tiredness.
Yeah, but I think as well, going back to the initial question with Haaland, and there was a discussion a couple of weeks ago about does he do enough off the ball? And everyone took that as we was being really negative about Haaland. We wasn't. It's just the fact that he's such a good player and Man City are such a good team. When you play in the biggest of games, teams are going to sit in a low block. So all we were saying, can he adjust his game so he can still be effective in the biggest of games? Because if you come up against Haaland, if I was a defender against Haaland, I'm not giving him an inch on the pitch. I'm going low. As soon as he gets the ball, I'm going nice and tight. Some of the runs that he makes, as soon as the ball's on one side, he always goes to the back post, which is quite easy to mark when you know what he's going to do. But if he can get the header on you, obviously he's got a good climb. But it's just little bits of movement. We know his hold-up play is not the greatest, but it's just making it a little bit harder for defenders, I think, in the biggest of games. Because every time he's come up against real top defenders or a unit which has been organised, he struggled. And that's what we was trying to say a couple of weeks ago.
He did win the Golden Boot this season. So it's
yes, of course he did. But look at the amount of chances that Man City create. So what we're saying now is Alan's just said, if Foden's off it, Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva are off it, and they're not creating something, can you still find a way to be effective in the game? And that's what we was talking about,
27 goals, wasn't it? 27 in the league this season.
Yeah,
missed
in
a
the
little
league.
bit of it.
Yeah.
He can improve. He's young enough for that. So
I had those criticisms. I had those criticisms in my career a lot. If you don't score, what does he actually do? I mean, most of the time it's you make run after run and after run, and if the ball's not coming to you on those days, then it can be a bit frustrating. And also you can then sometimes go looking for the ball because you've not had much of it, and you can go into positions where the coach doesn't really want you to go in. So I think Pep wants to keep him high as possibly can. So it's life as a striker. You go through these little patches. He's got plenty of time to score lots of goals in huge games, and I'm sure he will. Kevin De Bruyne, he's taken off again, which he's done quite a lot in big games lately. But I suppose he was out over half the season with injury, so it's not always that easy coming back from a long injury, is it?
He just didn't affect the game at all, did he? He didn't play well. He was touch was off.
Unusually.
There was so many of them, misplaced passes, but then again, you have to credit Man United for that because the way they closed them down and what have you. But I mean, they're used to that. They're used to teams having a right pop with them, aren't they? So, it was. I mean, I wouldn't. They just didn't play well. They didn't deserve to win the game. The best team won. Team in red. They were the better team, better players. All over the park, bar none. Simple. That's it. Fact.
And of course, their success meant that Newcastle missed out on Europe. Now, a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's just because Newcastle missed on Europe that I had a go at them."
Newcastle didn't really want to be in the Conference League anyway, playing every Thursday night, didn't they?
Yeah.
Honestly, I couldn't praise Manchester United anymore in my core comms, and after the game, how brilliant they were. So
one of those things.
I must say though, Al, you're very good at this commentator stuff, aren't you?
I enjoy it, guys. I really enjoy it. It's good. It's you're definitely under more pressure, and you haven't got as much time to think, and you've got to say it pretty quickly, you know. But you get a good buzz from it.
No,
it's
you
really
do.
Good. Yeah, I enjoy it. Thanks, Micah. I don't often get praise from you, man.
Stop it now. Stop it now, Micah, okay? I think one of my favourite parts of the day was the Wayne Rooney story of when he met you, Micah.
Well, you know that story's not actually true, you know that?
Really?
Fuck off, it is true.
Of course it's true. What? Why?
No,
was it a different restaurant?
The story wasn't true. I was going to Wings, and I used to go with my boys to Wings all the time, but it was actually for 100 games, and it was a surprise party.
That's true.
Why on God's earth would I have a party for playing 100 Premier League games? There was no chance. I was cringing.
Okay, so it wasn't 50, it was 100, and it was a surprise. So that's fine, but that's all right. That's all right.
Yeah, but I didn't want to spoil
What was the surprise party for? What was it for then?
For 100 league games.
But you didn't organise yourself, and that's the big thing.
It is what I'm trying to say, yeah. But I didn't want to,
Wayne didn't say you did. Wayne didn't say you organised it yourself.
I didn't want to spoil his vibe, so I let him have that one.
The other bit was when Al went off to Co-Coms, and I was supposed to say Alan's going off to Co-Coms now, and I completely forgot. And then off he went, and they came back. I thought, I'll do it when they come back from an interview. Or I think it was a Pep Guardiola piece that we did, and then I thought I'll do it when they come back, and I forgot again. and there's you've just gone. It was quite funny. We're going, Alan. So, live telly. It's always fun. It is my memory these days, but there we go.
It was nice. It was nice having Wayne Rooney though, wasn't it, guys?
Oh yeah, he's great. I mean, he's a lovely guy. I really like Wayne, and it was good, the timing was great as well, because we were on air 20 minutes after it went public that he got the Plymouth job. So, I didn't think I'd start our broadcast talking about Plymouth Argyle, but wish him all the best there. It's great that he's going to go and have another go, and hopefully it works out for him. Southampton have done it. Congratulations to them. That was such a massive game when you think about it, isn't it? The difference between, it's even more perhaps than a cup competition in some ways, isn't it? Because the difference of life in the Premier League or not making it is so huge, and obviously financially, but also being in the Premier League as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of those players had the disappointment of being relegated, didn't they, with Southampton? So to bounce back in the way they have done, I watched it all today, and I thought they deserved it. They were the best team. I thought Leeds were really poor, had nothing up front, and Southampton had Adam Armstrong, 20 odd goals this season.
Good finish.
He's a Geordie boy doing well down south, so. Yeah, he was the difference. He had that one opportunity, he stuck it away, and Leeds didn't have anything in return, did they, Micah? No,
didn't have anything. I was surprised, because in the two-legged semis, I thought that was brilliant. In the second leg of the semi, should I say, I thought that was amazing, and they just didn't turn up. I think they missed Bamford holding up the ball. I think Rutter didn't have the best of his games. It was strange, because on the right-hand side of the pitch, there was so much space, but Noncho kept going inside. I'm like, stay wide and try and beat your man. Until Dan James come on in the second half, they was just run out of ideas. Obviously, they had that chance with James when he hit the bar.
Yeah, it was unlucky. That was a good effort.
Yeah, I was very, very disappointed with Leeds, because I could hear the fans all day. I'm staying right by the station, King's Cross. They've been singing all morning. I thought they'd take that sort of energy to the ground and to Wembley. And by all accounts, it was really good. But just didn't transpire to the pitch, which is disappointing because I really thought Leeds could do it on the day.
Yeah. Massive for Southampton. And Russell Martin came in, didn't he, at the start of the season. After they've gone down, you lose one or two players. It's always a difficult time to take over a club. And he's changed things massively, apparently, inside that club. Done a brilliant job.
I think he said it himself after the game, didn't he? That one or two might have thought, "Oh, okay, well, not really excited about that, his appointment." But yeah, he's been amazing. I mean, it hasn't all been plain sailing for them. They've had a couple of tough spells during the season, but when it really mattered, they've shown up, you know, and I'm pleased for them. I love that football club because it's where I started. So. Got a lot to. I know it's very different people that run it now and are inside the club, but it was still the club that I went to when I was 15. So I'm delighted. It's a really, really good fan base. So I'm really pleased for them.
Did score a hat-trick in your debut for them, did you, Alan? I seem to recall you mentioning that once or twice.
Just once or twice. Oh, somehow always goes back to Alan Shearer, doesn't it?
Sure, it's still the record for some of the youngest to score a hat-trick in the top
five. You'll know.
It's just the way they played it well, wasn't it? I think at the start of the season, he was getting a little bit of stick by the way they was playing. It was playing out from the back, wasn't they? And there was conceding sloppy goals. What I liked about them is the way that they went in the defensive unit at times. They could mix up the play as well, which, you know, in the Premier League, they're going to have to do. So he shows he can adapt to what he needs to do. But, you know, his first thought is, can we play out from the back? Can we play through the lines? And can we get it forward as quick as possible? So I'm excited to see what he can do in the Premier League, actually.
Yeah, a brilliant effort from Southampton. And you know, I know one or two Southampton fans and really pleased for them because, you know, they went through what Leicester went through and Leeds, of course, getting relegated and it's just horrible. But and you know, and then you have a wonderful year in the Championship. It's really exciting. Then you're so excited about being back in the Premier League, and then you don't win many games again. I don't know, but I think, yeah,
I know you think that, don't you? You think you see the elation on all the players' faces, and then you think, okay, well, you're going to have to enjoy this summer because it's going to be a tough season.
For all the promoted clubs.
I mean, depending on however much they invest on players they bring in or whatever, but even still, it's going to be a tough year for them.
And also how much you can invest under these, you know, these current rules and stuff. We've seen a massive kind of fall off in big transfers and stuff. So I think it's particularly difficult now when you come up. You know, Leicester could. I think there's every chance they might have a point deduction before they even start, which would be like bloody awful.
Oh, look at him already putting the feelers out. Just so next season when they don't do well, he's got his excuses already ready.
Oh, well, I'm hoping I don't have any excuse. I hope they don't get any point deduction. That would be much better. But yeah, good luck to Southampton. I feel for the Leeds fans because it must be absolutely gutting. I get it. It's awful. But they'll have a real chance next season again, I'm sure, and they'll win lots of football matches. I went to Dublin last week to watch the Europa League final because I thought...
Did you have any Guinness?
I didn't actually, funnily enough. I had a bottle of wine or two with a couple of really good lunches and went to the match. I just thought it'd be nice to see one of Leverkusen's game in this unbeaten season of the 50-odd games, whatever it was that they played. I managed to go to the only one they didn't win.
You're the fucking jinx.
I am, but Atalanta fans will think, wow, I'm not a jinx. And theirs is a pretty amazing story as well. I mean, Leverkusen, they managed to win the cup yesterday, didn't they, against Kaiserslautern, who are mid-table in the second tier of German football. They won 1-0. I think they looked a bit tired, but they managed to get through that despite being down to 10 men in the second half. But on Wednesday night, even after about 5-10 minutes, I was watching the game and I'm thinking, how have they done this? But, you know, they just had a real bad day at the office, obviously. And Atalanta were excellent. I mean, they pressed high and they were tough in their faces. And I was so pleased for Ademola Lookman. I mean, I was trying to claim the victory as a Leicester triumph because he I think he played 26 games for us a couple of seasons ago. But it was a brilliant. Oh,
it was brilliant. One of his goals
the
were
second
amazing,
and third. Wow. Yeah,
Bloody
moment,
hell, yeah.
moment of a lifetime.
They battered them, Atalanta, didn't they, from start to finish? I mean, if you had never been to a football match in your life and someone said to you there's one team that has been 51 unbeaten or whatever it is, never would you have said Leverkusen, because they were made to look really average by Atalanta. So yeah, it was a great performance by them, and great hat-trick. And they were miles a better team.
Brilliant story as well, Atalanta, because it's a tiny town, Bergamo, where they're based. I think it's like the size of somewhere like Exeter, I believe. So very small population, but they've had brilliant recruitment. Have brought in a lot of players that have gone under the radar, and they've sold them on, and people like Højlund was there, wasn't he? So and they got a lot of money for him. So even losing those players, they've managed to compete, get to the final, smash Liverpool, and beat and be the only team in this entire season to beat Leverkusen. So well done, Atalanta. One other note while we're on Italian football, a certain hero of mine has retired from management, Claudio Ranieri. We love him dearly at Leicester. I think everyone likes Claudio. I went to see Leicester play Roma 2 years ago in the semi-final of the Conference League, and he was at the game. He wasn't managing them, but obviously he'd managed them in the past, and he'd managed Leicester, so he was at the game. And at one point, about 15 minutes into the game, they cut up a shot of him on the main screen, and the whole ground, Leicester fans, Roma fans, everybody stood up and applauded. And then they cut back to him again, and you could see he was really emotional. And it was so beautiful. It was so amazing that the love that people have for him, and he'll be a hero at Leicester forever. So we wish him well in his retirement. What an amazing career, amazing managerial career he's had.
Unbelievable. Congrats.
Will never be forgotten that at Leicester. So he'll always be remembered.
Absolutely, and the way he handled it, all the success. You might have heard me talking with Kasper Schmeichel when a long interview I did with him, which is amazing. And if you haven't heard it yet, please do. I think you'll absolutely love it. He's passionate, he's driven, he's articulate. He talks about obviously the success of Leicester's season, how his career came to be in the first place, obviously being the son of a great goalkeeper himself, the awfulness of the helicopter crash that he lived through, and being on the pitch, of course, with Christian Eriksen as well, when he had that awful moment. It's a great listen. I think you'll enjoy it if you haven't yet seen it or heard it. Let's turn our attention now to Chelsea. Pochettino. I mean, I there were a few rumours, and you could see that Pochettino had said a few things where you suspected all wasn't well. But I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense, does it?
He's better off out of there. He's better off out. I mean, I think that is the very, very best that he could have done in finishing where they did. I mean, got them to a final, got them to a semi-final, got them into sixth position. I know they've now since been, I wouldn't say relegated, but now in the Europa Conference instead of the Europa League. But I honestly, I don't think he could have done any better than that with what was available to him. So it's just a barn pot of a football club, isn't it?
Why do you? I mean, have you got any inkling why they would make that decision? Maybe he wanted a couple of players in certain. Who knows? The owners might have gone, we want to do this, and he's probably gone, no, I don't want to. And then maybe I don't know. I have no idea, but. There must have been some kind of fallout.
Yeah, but whoever goes in, yeah, of course there's been a fallout, yeah. But whoever goes in there can never ever complain about what goes on, because you take that job knowing that it's a bit of a mad football club in terms of how it's run. So it is what it is. He obviously didn't feel as if it was right that whatever behind the scenes was going on, who they were going to sign, what they've signed, how they were signed. The number of years on their contract and all of those things. So he's better off out, isn't he?
Yeah, I agree. You could tell the writing was on the wall. Remember his interview a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yes.
And he basically said, at the end of the season, if Chelsea don't want me, or if I don't want to be there. You knew it was there. But what was sad about it is, I've been talking about Chelsea all season, and I think they've been really good up until the final third. They just sorted the final third bit out, and then they sack him. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? It's ridiculous. That club is a mess, and it's just it's a shame to see, because it is a great club. Give us some, good times in the recent history, and to see it in the way it is now, it's just, it's embarrassing, to be honest.
In terms of Pochettino, though, I think that the way they finished the season and what they've done in the season, having, the problems that they had when he first came in, I think, his position as a coach now is, I don't think it's gone down at all in people's minds, and I think he'll be, he's one of those coaches now that's out of work that, I think he'll get a good job.
Yeah. He's a good coach, isn't he? He's a good man. He's a good coach, and you're right. He'll get a really good job somewhere.
Yeah, I'm tempted to say possibly Manchester United, but we don't want to upset Erik and the Man United fans. So definitely.
Leave the lamp, yeah.
I want to finish with your friend Vincent Kompany, Micah. That was out of the blue, wasn't it? Blimey. Relegated Burnley and then ended up at Bayern Munich.
From Burnley to Bayern?
Yeah.
Wow. That is... We all know he's a good coach, though, don't we?
And he will have the players to play the way he absolutely wants to at Bayern Munich.
Exactly that. I was buzzing for him. I mean, I watched him in the Championship. I've said many times this season, the way he got his team to play. I was disappointed he couldn't translate that into the Premier League, and they kept making the same mistakes over and over again. But they've seen something in him. They know exactly what he can bring. I want to see him at the top level to see, because there's no hiding places now, isn't he? He's got the quality players to do the things that he wants to do. So let's see. But I'm really buzzing for him for this opportunity, for sure.
Very, very, very fortunate, eh?
Yeah. Well, he's another manager, Alan, that you've been very critical of this season. Were you a bit surprised by that one? I mean, what an opportunity, though. What an opportunity.
Yeah, I was very surprised, I was very surprised, because they sort of backed him at Burnley. They gave him a bit of a free rein to go and spend the right few quid on so many players, and trusted him to spend that. And it was a disaster for them when he kept on asking players to do something they clearly couldn't do. I mean, I really, really like him, respect him as a person. We've worked with him. He's brilliant. He's a really nice guy. But he's fortunate. I mean, he might be fourth or fifth or sixth choice, whatever it is, because they've tried for several others, and those, for whatever reason, that turned it down or whatever it was at Bayern. But he's now he's in that hot seat now. So it's Mike is right. It's up to him to go and do a job, and we'll see what he's got.
I think we should stop here before Alan upsets any more managers. And so goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
No, you've got to look at your heads. Go down,
He's completely losing it, Micah. That's the thing.
Sorry, apologies.
He's
Apologies.
scrambling.
You go first, Micah. Go on.
Do you want to do that again, guys?
No, just do it. Say
my
it.
God.
All right, then. We'll do it again, but leave all this in, please, Harry. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Have a good week.
Hey!